Hey, this is Jimmy Photon. It's not a stupid pedal trick.
Hey, this is Petey. I'm here today interviewing a gentleman who is notorious in the community, Mr. Pink Jimi Photon. So we'll start from the beginning. What was your first memory where music clicked for you? How old were you?
I was probably maybe second grade or so, and there was a whole bunch of things that all kind of just all came crashing together at once. You know, when I was in second grade, I started playing cello poorly, very poorly, and I think it's also that year that I heard Black Sabbath's first album. And when I heard Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on Black Sabbath, I decided that the change of direction that I had to take for my life was going to go from being a little brainiac nerd with a propeller beanie to just being some horrible rock musician, lock up your daughters, lock up your wives, that kind of thing. That didn't really work out too good, but being a guitar player, it was all good. So I started playing. I didn't really actually seriously start playing until I was about 11. That was when I started really seriously trying to play guitar. Before that, I'd steal my sister's guitar, play a couple of notes here and there. No idea what I was doing. But somewhere between Black Sabbath, Kiss, and Alice Cooper, I got hooked.
So, what was your first live music experience, your first concert?
Jesus Christ Superstar
Really?
at the Oakdale Musical Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut, in the round. They had this big old round wooden ballroom. And I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I remember we got to meet Ian Gillan from Deep Purple because he was singing in the cast that particular tour. And we went up to the tour bus, asked to try to get autographs because we're just little kids. We didn't know. I didn't know who the fuck Deep Purple was. And I remember he came out, man, to have pictures taken with us, and he's hugging us, and he's like telling us how groovy it is, and it was really cool. So that was my first brush with greatness, and it's been all downhill from ever since.
So, just out of curiosity, what was the last compact disc that you actually purchased?
You know, other than gifts for other people, I have never bought myself a compact disc. All I used to listen to was vinyl, and a couple of years ago, I just got sick of hauling it around, so I sold it all. Now it's like if I listen to music recreationally, it's whatever I find on the internet.
So, what was the last album that you downloaded?
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was a Spirit album, Randy California. Uh, this was actually a couple of years ago. I think it was the 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus.
Oh. Well, what would be your least favorite genre of music?
Lady Gaga.
Now, how about your favorite genre of music?
Uh, everything but Lady Gaga. I pretty much I can handle just about anything. That's Lady Gaga. I mean, it's like to me, uh, I that's just not something I could. I mean, no, it's just not music. To me. But she sells a lot of records and I don't, so she's got to be doing something right, or I'm doing something wrong. But my favorite genre of music is probably blues based hard rock. You
Good
know,
answer. Good
free
answer.
free bad company stuff like that. People ask me my favorite album, I'd probably say "Never Mind the Bollocks" by the Sex Pistols. Actually,
Really?
that album just it amuses me. It always has. It's the first time I heard it because it was just so intentionally bad. It was everything punk was supposed to be, you know, and it was completely contrived, which made it even funnier after the fact. When it came out that it was all bullshit. You know,
So, what was the last concert or live music event that you attended?
the last thing I went to was I took my brother Dennis with me. We went to see a cover band called Get the Let Out at the same place I saw Jesus Christ Superstar of all places. First time I had been there in the round anyway, because they have a coliseum that's attached to it too, that they built many years later. So we went to see these guys, and I had won, didn't win. My brother had free tickets, so he was like, "Yeah, nothing else to do." Drove down there and checked them out. They were really good, and they were actually probably better than seeing Zeppelin. you know, they sounded correct. They had three guitars because it took three guitars to pull off what Jimmy Page would put on his albums.
Sure.
But I think the last thing I'd seen before that was probably Stone Temple Pilots a couple of years ago, or maybe it was the yeah. Dude, I go out so infrequently. I'm always sitting here like building shit like this.
Gotcha. Who's your favorite guitar player?
Frank Zappa, unequivocally, best guitar player that ever lived, as far as I'm concerned. Uh, Kind of like if Frank Marino had like really bad genes or was on like PCP or something. I like the way Zappa played. I loved his compositions. I mean, I can't really after Frank Zappa, they all kind of just vie for second place. Those would like include Dave Gilmour, Brian May, uh, Buddy Guy, Jimi Hendrix, Freddie King, Robbie Krieger from The Doors, Ace Frehley, Mick Box from Uriah Heep, Richie Blackmore. Like all the 80s, like Wheedly Wheedly guys, they just never really did anything for me. I was just a little, I don't know. To me, metal was more Black Sabbath than White Snake,
Yes,
you
well,
know.
there are no wrong answers, but these are as close as you possibly could get to the right answer. So you get a
Okay, this
little
is good.
little gold star next to your name for those.
Woohoo!
Now, who would you
Well,
say
people.
who would you say impresses you the most with their use of guitar effects?
Um, Me. Oh, um, probably David Gilmour. I've always very much loved the sounds that you would get out of that thing. I wasn't real crazy about like the '80s era, too perfect, all digital kind of sound that he had. But some of the earlier tones that he had were just amazing. And I mean, they're just basic things. You take a fuzz bass and put a one slap echo about a half a second after it. Marvelous. That's all you need. You don't need all the other crap. But uh, in terms of effect, that's really changed over the last few years. I think because it used to be people would be like either you had the total effect mongers or you had the guys that didn't use any at all. But now it seems like everywhere I go, everybody's got a pedal board full of effects. People have more shit with them than they can possibly use. I do it. I do it myself. I mean, I can get by with a guitar and an amp, and I do sometimes. But I'm happier if I got a fuzz bass and a wah wah, maybe an echo. These days, a suzy-q pedal. Yeah, did I say suzy-q? Yeah, let's give myself a plug there. Because those will be probably coming out at some point. Of course, they're free if anybody wants to build them. That's they're pig stores. You know, it's free if you do it yourself. If you want me to do it, it's going to cost you $100.
Leads us to a question you've already answered,
Uh
but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you play any instruments?
Yeah. Uh, Whether I play them well, that's another story. But pretty much, if it's got strings on it, I can probably do something with it. Uh, I play bass, fretless, fretted, five string, upright. Like I said, I mess around with cello, although I haven't touched it in a long time. Guitars, mandolin, uh, synthesizers. Used to play Hammond organs at one point. Too much of a bitch to move. Guitars are bad enough.
Drum machines don't count.
I don't use. I have used drum machines, but only when I can wear it off the internet. Uh,
Have you ever been in a band?
I've been in so many bands it would make your ass hurt. I have been in every kind of band you could think of. Uh, Rock bands, blues bands, fusion bands, metal bands, country bands. I've played in orchestras. I've played in dance bands, everything. I've played all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've been
So,
doing this since I'm 7. I'm 50, almost 51 now.
okay.
So
So
goes back a long way.
I take it, the next question, and I take it, of course, it would be, have you ever done any recording?
Yeah, actually, I've done a lot of recording over the years. I haven't done it in the last few years. I just haven't been inspired ever since I got this new addiction, to building stop boxes. Uh, I've got probably 100 some odd songs that are on the internet. If you Google me up, you can probably find them without too much trouble. All kinds of stuff.
Do you have any other hobbies besides do-it-yourself effects or music?
Um, well, no, I don't really have a life, man. It's either I'm stuck on the internet answering email, dealing with Facebook or some kind of bullshit like that, or I'm tinkering with something, or I'm out playing somewhere. And if I'm not doing any of that stuff, I'm sleeping.
Okay, we'll edit that, and I.
Yeah.
So, what was your very first experience with electronics?
uh, well, it was the 1970s, and I was going to Wyndham High School in Willamette, Connecticut, and they had an after-school program at the technical school, which was kind of across the street near the high school. So I decided I was going to enroll in that. So they made us go through all the different shops, and of course, I was no good with any of them. Like I was the guy where it was like where we had to tear an engine down. We had a week to do it, and I was the guy at the end of it that had like a whole bunch of extra parts. That didn't really work out too well. And then I ended up in this electronics class where I learned about the expression "swears like an electrician." The guy that ran it was an old school electronics, guru. They called him Mr. K, and he used to walk around going, "You guys are nothing but peckerheads. You guys are stupid peckerheads. What are you doing in my class?" You know, and so I didn't really learn a whole lot. I tried, didn't work. Like I learned things like, if an amplifier is real loud at 8 ohms, if you put two speakers in parallel, it's gonna probably be louder. And I didn't really do anything at all with it. Like I'd try and fix things and destroy them. And finally, early 90s, my friend Matt Ziner uh, got sick of fixing my Marshall because I used to blow the Marshall up every other week. And he gave me a book called Inside Tube Amps by Dan Torres. And he said, fix it yourself. And so I read the book and figured out how to fix my own amp and built my own amp. And then I started building amps, was going to call them Dirty Bad. Built two. Never got around to doing anything else with it. Just kind of fell by the wayside. I'd get abused by my friends. Hey, I need new filter caps. Fix their amp for them or whatever. I didn't start doing the actual pedals until about 2005. And then it started with a $9 kit that I found on the internet.
So, apart from this initial, which sounds to me like it was more of a, like just getting your feet wet and getting you past that first initial fear someone might have to tinker with something that's electronic. But besides that, you didn't have any like formal training or college training for electronics, did you?
No, I'm a hack. I'm the guy that's like willing to blow up stuff in order to find cool things. I mean, I regularly blow things up, transistors, integrated circuits, whatever. The scary shit was the tubes when I'd blow stuff up with the tubes. That could get a little annoying. You got sparks arcing across the room and ghosts flying across the house. Or I remember one time I was biasing an amplifier with a current shunt method where you're using like a meter, right between like the output transformer center tap and ground. And the phone rang, and I'm not thinking. And I pick up the phone, stick it under my, and I'm sitting there talking, and I go and grab the chassis of the amp with this hand, and I go and read the meter with this hand, and I managed to contact something and realize, oh shit, I'm stuck, you know, and that was a good tickle. That's about 450 volts, and eventually I had a convulsion and like kind of threw the amp across the room. That's probably what saved me. But I learned never to, don't answer the phone when you're working on tube amps. And the old thing about keeping one hand in your back pocket, if you're a lummox like me, not a bad idea. you know?
Do you know the one about if you're not exactly sure and you have to touch something, you touch it with the back of your hand. Because if you touch it like this, you'll latch on because of the AC, because of the muscle
Ah,
spasm. So I was a lineman for AT&T, and that was only 90 volts, but still. So that was one of the things that I picked up on. That you know.
make, make your heart beat funny for a couple days, you know?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah.
So what was the very first experience with do-it-yourself electronics, and how old were you when you first monkeyed around? The first time you did this?
Well, when I first started really playing guitar seriously and trying to like do bands and stuff, there was actually three of us that were hanging out. What I was going to be the bass player, this other guy was going to be the guitar player, this other guy was going to be the drummer. He ended up a singer. The bass player ended up being a lead. Wait a minute. I ended up being a guitar player, and the guitar player ended up being a bass player. But the bass player or future bass player uh, gave me one of them orange plastic K fuzz tones, like the plastic wah, orange plastic thing.
Yes, yes.
And it either because now I know they're supposed to have silicon transistors in them, but as I recall, that thing would change tone every time you plugged it in. So I suspect some of them might have had germanium in them, but that thing used to break. So I'd steal my dad's Weller soldering iron and put the little 9-volt adapter thingy back together on it. And that was probably my first real experience with it. And eventually I broke it, and I couldn't figure out how to put it back together, so I just you know. But I never
How,
had any fear of like just taking shit apart and trying to fix it. I mean, because a lot of times my dad would be like, "Take a look at it, see if you see something that looks like it's burnt." And you'd find something burnt, you replace the parts around it, and you'd be good to go until it smoked the next time.
Now is that the pedal that the Edge used for the Elevation song? Is it the K fuzz tone?
Yes, but the sound that you're hearing that the Edge is using, I don't think is even remotely related to what a K fuzz tone actually sounds like. It's very weak, and it sounds kind of like a broken super fuzz. It doesn't have the balls that the super fuzz has, but it's almost a forminty kind of sound. It's neat. It's more crackle than fuzz kind of.
Okay. So what inspired you to get into DIY?
Being
So
a poor itinerant musician,
out of necessity.
out of necessity.
Okay.
I couldn't afford to fix things. I couldn't afford to buy things. But I was like, hey, I mean, I could get this here pedal, $10 here, $10 there, broken, fix it. Originally, I figured, I'd just buy it, wheel and deal stuff and get other stuff that I needed. So that was a big part of it. And then once I got addicted to it, I don't know if it's the flux in the solder or the lead itself that makes me this stupid, but now it's like there's distinct periods where I might go a week without building something, but then I might build like 10, 8, 10 things. And
So
in between, I'm always messing with stuff, trying to, figure it out in my head. And I'm one of the idiots that instead of going and messing with like a proto board or what the hell you call those things?
a breadboard.
Breadboard. Instead of messing with a breadboard, I'll just go and say, hey, well, this part of this circuit looks cool, and that part of this circuit looks cool. Let's glom them together, build a Vero, and then try and figure out how to make it work after the fact. which is
So,
exactly the wrong way to do this, folks. Don't try this at home.
so we know that there's commercially available circuit boards that you can purchase and add to parts. Then there's a strip board or perf board. You work with Vero, is that correct?
I love Veroboard, yeah.
It's a strip board. So why don't you, I mean, as quickly as possible, if you could run us through the process that you use from start to finish of constructing a pedal, and quickly.
Quickly, yeah. Won't be here all night. Okay, what I do usually is first I'll work out a layout with Banneke's do-it-yourself layout creator, which never runs right on my computer. You can only undo one level on mine for whatever reason, which can be really frustrating because you'll go and make a mistake halfway through and have to start from the beginning to go back and fix it.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah. But I start with the do-it-yourself layout creator, and then usually I print it where you can see the cuts in jumpers, but from the rail side. Because I found that trying to go and put cuts into Veroboard when you have like a bigger project and you're trying to do everything backwards from what it is that you know, it can get real confusing. So I usually do that. I do the I do my track cuts with it's on the table here somewhere. I just can't see it. A drill bit. I just rotate it a couple of times to make my cuts, make sure that there's no continuity. And then I stuff. Usually I start with jumpers and then resistors. Uh, After I get the resistors on, if I have to put any sockets in, I usually do them. Then I'll do caps. There's no real method to my madness. It's like pretty much whatever is handy at the moment. Whatever's closest will be what I'll work on. I'm not a real stickler. Like it has to be the flat parts first, and no standy uppy this, and yeah, it's whatever works works. And what I do after that is once I get the board populated, uh, I hook up whatever pots and power to it and see if it passes signal. If it passes signal, then I stick it in a box. And if it still passes signal when it's in a box, I scrawl all over the thing with Sharpie because I'm too damn cheap to paint it. I mean, I don't really see any point in trying to paint pedals that I'm going to be stomping on, but that's just me. Little Sharpie to tell me what knob does what. That's good until it wears off, but
Well, see,
that makes it
this
more fun that way.
this brings me to an interesting observation, uh, and this may not be the most popular thing for me to say, but it's interesting that you take that approach and that you're not. It would appear to me that you don't really care about impressing anybody with what the thing looks like
I
because,
don't care about impressing anybody, period. I mean,
well, besides the fact your only concern at this point basically is
what it sounds like.
what the thing sounds like.
That's all I
So
care about. If it sounds good, it is.
yes, so
If
that's
it,
that's pretty admirable approach. And when you consider the amount of time and materials uh, what involved in finishing, not to take anything away from anyone who there's some fantastic artwork in the
hey,
community,
you know,
but
I got a whole bunch of Sharpies right here. I mean,
uh,
I just I don't want to put the pedals that are going to be coming out commercially actually are going to have graphics on them and stuff because there's two pedals that me and my partner Mike are working on. Um, One's my tone blaster, which is kind of a tone bender kind of pedal. The other one's the Suzy-q overdrive. But that's going to be who knows how far down the road.